Hey everybody, it's Eric Balance coming to you with the Resilient Minds podcast, where I feature beautiful entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and experts in their field, where they help us discover their X factor, their experience of life, only to discover how they were able to accomplish and find out their Y factor, their big why, their purpose in life. So join me as we get to discover the beauty of our minds and how can we really continue to go after the biggest and most wildest dreams while we continue to pursue and manifest our greatest intelligence that comes from the heart. Also, if you haven't, go check out the new alignment course that I've created at www.ericbalance.com/alignment, ALIGNMENT. See you on the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm super excited because today we are with the angel coach, Emily Rivera. She's highly intuitive, higher conscious coach, really supporting and focusing on the sensitivity and the abilities of a lot of the inner child within us all, but also the children that we really, continue to serve as we move forward into, the future generations. So I just want to first welcome you, Emily, to the show. Welcome you to the podcast. Welcome you. I'm excited to go deeper, and I'd love to know, share what this means, this higher sense of consciousness to you, and how those sensitivities are applying to your world in this current state, in this current reality.
So first of all, thank you. Thank you for having me, Eric. I'm really just looking forward to seeing how everything flows and unfolds during our time together. And hello, everyone joining live on replay. Very grateful to be able to join you in this conversation. It's a great question. I will say that my understanding of what that means has been in evolution, because I feel like what that means has looked very different throughout the years for me. And where I am at now is that my experience since a child has been one in which what I call, whether you call it God, universe, source, higher intelligence, higher self, beings of light, whatever you choose to call it, I feel like my experience with that which embodies itself as unconditional love has been very, I'm audibly hearing well aligned and integrated is what I'm hearing. It's not the words that I would usually use, but that's what I'm audibly hearing to say. And my understanding of it has morphed in many different ways and directions, and it's helped me really relevant to what's happening in my life. And what that means is that what served me when I was 10 and what I was seeing and talking to when I was 10 looked very different when I was 20, and it looks very different when I was in my 20s. When I say 20s, like 28 or that time frame between my 28s and 30s, just because of a few of my experiences going on with, especially my daughter with special needs. And where I'm at now, it's come to a place where I even felt it today. I was driving from my daughter's appointment, and it was this deep understanding that higher consciousness is our ability to truly experience the joy that we're in. Like the joy that we're in within every moment, right? Within every experience. And it was as if I was being reminded, literally, this is on my drive here, being reminded how there is this euphoric experience that's I'm being encouraged to say a different word. I'm hearing the word interfacing, that's interfacing with us, whether we call it higher consciousness within ourselves or not. It's like interfacing, it's always happening. And part of what I've come to lean more into is like that the more we get to experience what that really looks like, which is us being in that state of euphoria as best as we can, the more we get to experience more of who we are and what we are in this consciousness. And my passion right now, or my deep desire, is to help the kids that are coming through right now that have a higher experience, and I like to call it a thinner veil to the supernatural within themselves and all around them. And part of what I feel my mission and vision is with what I'm working on, and what I feel all of us are working on, because even your work is supporting this, is to show up in ways that can help these children feel understood and confident in why they're here and why their veil is so thin.
Wow. Beautiful. And when you speak, because I think that just for clarity purposes, for anybody that hasn't heard of the veil or the supernatural, what does that mean to you, and how would you apply it to anybody that like doesn't really understand what that veil to the supernatural could be or mean?
Perfect. So first of all, for those who are hearing me for the first time and you're saying something, and I appreciate you asking it that way, because I hear guidance all pretty consistently, like that's my normal. And when I say that, it's like I feel like I'm in constant interaction with this love, and I'll hear thoughts, I'll see visions. Now, people ask me, is it all the time? It's not all the time, but I feel like it's happening all the time. And especially when I'm showing up to be of service and also be able to co-create with individuals like you and others like you. And for me, the supernatural is that which reflects what is outside of mainstream and how we perceive reality to be. Supernatural because it stretches the boundaries of the mind and boundaries of time and the reality that we're in. It pushes us into seeing that which is before us is not as solid or as restrictive as we once thought it to be, based on what we've been told or what we've been experiencing ourselves. And supernatural, again, it's something that reflects anything that is outside of the natural when it comes to mainstream, the natural. And what was the other one? You said supernatural. What was the other word that you highlighted?
The veil.
The veil. So since I was little, one of the things that I would be shown, and the reason I use veil, and I know it's been used by many other people as well, since I was little, they would show me this idea of lens, that we all have different lenses. And through different experiences growing up, they would show me why people would make certain decisions, or why people would be stuck a certain way, or why people would be feeling a certain way. And they would always show me, literally look like glasses, and they would show me these lenses, and they would help me to understand what people were going through by saying they're looking at life through a different lens, right? They're seeing life through a different lens. As I grew older, as I came to understand things a little differently, because I'm being encouraged to use the word lens as well, as I experienced life even more, it literally, to me, the way that they will describe it, or if I'm talking to someone who seems to have a thinner veil, is as if this sheer that covers our reality, or this sheer that on some level filters reality for it to seem tangible, is thinner. So they're able to see that the tangible that is within us is not just what we get to see, right? The veil is thinner, so we get to see deeper into what is in front of us. We get to see, they're saying, deeper and wider into what is seen. And they're showing me a vision of the fly. You know, I think a lot of people maybe learn this in high school or middle school, right? That idea that a fly, and the way that they see the world, is that they get to see things like thousands of lenses, right? They get to see many different things, and the way they process, they can put things together, or that they look at something and their eyes can see a lot of things. It's the same thing with this idea of the veil, that for some people, the veil is so thin that they get to see the reality that is in front of us in many different ways and from many different directions. Beautiful.
So, and allow me to just share what I heard, because I think that this is important for anybody, especially if they're coming from like a place that is maybe not identifying with the words. So for me, this was like a very important part of paying attention to your own map of the world and being curious about other individuals' ways of seeing them. And as a result, you're able to now dance between other perspectives and then put pieces together. And so when you get closer into thinner between the veil, you're actually seeing that there is no separation between maybe life or death, or perhaps there's that your energy source is actually the physical embodiment, and so is everybody else around you. Am I hearing this correctly?
Yes, that sounds
Amazing.
perfect. Beautiful way to describe it and give it words.
Yeah.
Yes.
So for anybody that like this is like a really powerful tool that is helping you to ground and know that your energy is really able and fulfilled to actually create. So oftentimes we're told that, hey, this feeling that we have is there's a huge separation between what we believe in and how we can show up in every day. So oftentimes we're told by society to put these masks on, and what Emily is amazing at is helping those spaces to unpack the onion, let's call it, the layers, so that you can step into that higher space of consciousness and really see your intuitive wisdom embodied in everything around you. Does this sound similar, like to what I'm hearing?
I love it. And I love, one thing that's coming up, Eric, and Eric is so good at this. He's a true artist, right? So he's giving, like, even in a poetic way, and I know it's like in his own poetic way, he's giving definition to the experience. So I appreciate that. It's so beautiful to just witness that. It's like the way of the artist is the thought that's coming up for me. A true artist. It was so good.
Thank you. It's amazing. So I'm curious about you, because this is a really beautiful art of your own that you've learned to listen to pay attention to take the time to be curious about. So what is it now how did you, because I'm certain there's a lot of people that, they also have this deep pattern, or they know something that doesn't sit right. And maybe that's how you started too, is like, hey, you didn't feel by these external situations. And I think that what I'm feeling is that your own sensitivity needed to be managed, so that you can then feel into yourself, and as a result be able to see it around you, so that you can help others tap into their own abilities. So you were able to do this for yourself first. Am I hearing this, or am I right about this, and is this a good assumption? But I would like to know actually more clearly from you.
So what I resonate with is that I feel like the way it's being described, the way you're describing it, is a good way it's a good process. Thank you. I'm hearing the word process that most of us go through in our, I'm audibly hearing, coming back home and remembering what we already know. And I think for me, being fully authentic here and honest, I think I didn't fully understand what it meant not to know, or not to feel, or not to experience what, again, this energy and this force of love. I didn't know what life would be without hearing it all the time. Again, my experience just started, the first memory that I consciously remember very vividly was around 5. And that was of a beautiful being of light, a teacher, a master teacher, teaching me about humanity and teaching me about how frail humanity is, and how within the frailty of humanity, we forget that we're truly so powerful, that we forget who we really are and what we are. And it would literally teach me, and it would tell me that my role, or my in its own telepathic way, tell me that part of my purpose, mission. Again, this was me at 5, me as an adult now, I'm sure I'm describing it differently than my 5-year-old self would. And also borrowing languaging, because it was all in Spanish. At that time, I only spoke Spanish. But it was pretty much letting me know that it was my role to remember and not to forget. And as I grew, I had multiple experiences of these beings. I saw Jesus, I saw different masters, embodiments of what I would call divine manifestations of love, just teach me. And this carried me through into college and until I got married. The voice told me where I was going to go to college. The voice told me when I was going to get married. The voice told me what to study. Like literally this voice was guiding me my whole life. So my sensitivities and my experience of that felt like it was a best friend by my side the whole time. But then my daughter, before my daughter was born, I was having these dreams and visions of me being in this white box container in the middle of this chaotic ocean. And inside of it, I was holding my daughter who was yet to be born. And within the chaos outside, I could see both of us being safe. And I could hear her soul telling me that no matter what happens, I'm going to be okay. And that was where they started seeding what was preparing me to what was to come, which was my daughter, my oldest daughter, being fully disabled, having a lot of medical needs. But what happened is that when she started having seizures and we were in and out of the hospital and pretty much literally every day, not knowing whether she was going to make it to the next day, my mind, my brain, my human experience shifted, right? I went from having this sensitivity, this voice guiding and showing me and me feeling stuff and seeing stuff for others. It went from what felt like night and day, from being fully 100% to nothing, to zero. And when that happened, now in looking back, what I can understand, and the reason I'm saying this because I think it's applicable to all of us on some level, is that my brain shifted from its state of wonder and awe, its own alignment and openness to that experience, into a state of survival. Right? It's like I had to survive those episodes. I had to figure a way out. I moved into what I needed to get done to make it through the next day. And it's as if the gift and the channel, I shut it off. I made that secondary to lean into the primary need that I felt was what required my attention and my focus. And during that time, it was a very, very hard time. And this is where I can resonate with what you were sharing, that I went from zero into a place that I knew I had to go back. Like I had to find a way back for my daughter's survival. So it wasn't even because of me. I went back. I was like, I have to hear the voice again. I have to, this is the only way my daughter's going to survive. That it's like a decision I made. So I went on a quest. I went on a quest in coming back home. I went on a quest on coming back into that relationship that guided me my whole life so that it can guide me into what I needed to do to save her life. And it was really amazing to witness how life really just unfolded in my favor for that. And I think it does for all of us. Because in so many ways, life is guiding us not only to our destiny, right? Not only to what we're here to do, but really guiding us back home to move into the spaces and places, and even the questioning required to get us to move into who we're destined to be when it comes to understanding our connection. And it was during that time that I went into what was required to open back up and open up the channels. And what happened from there, Eric, was just miraculous in every way possible. I went into a place and I stepped into a level of understanding with consciousness and divine, God, whatever you want to call it, energy, in which I really got to see that our reality is malleable. Like I would get the gift of seeing my daughter's body going from not breathing into breath, just with my choice, just with my own decision to feel peace in the chaos, just in my own decision to breathe for her, like literally quiet my mind and feel the peace and take a breath. And then her life literally coming back into her body. And it brought me into a place of understanding that we're surrogates for each other. That in this journey, we never walk alone, we walk with each other. And that anytime and every time we choose to bring ourselves home, we're bringing all of us home, and especially those that we love the most, we offer them the opportunity to breathe, like symbolically, like what my daughter physically went through. But we offer our loved ones a breath when we take time to breathe ourselves into peace. And then in that experience and in that process, Eric, and everyone listening, is how I was brought back into remembering who I am, but not only who I am, but it fueled the passion and the fire of wanting to help others do the same.
What a magical turn of responsibility or of event, like you really took that time to recognize the external world around you, and instead of navigating, you took the time to, you needed to do the fight flight kind of experience, but then recognize, hold on, I'm going to take the time to go inside, rebuild this relationship with myself, so that I could rebuild this relationship with the guidance that was always there for you. You just kind of needed to do something else at that time to really implement in your current reality, and then knowing how to cultivate that remembering allowed you then to be in this place of deep peace, and apply that to then, from that space of peace, actually it was from the internal that the external started to show up in the place of the same peace, mirror the peace.
Yes, yes.
So I'm curious now, when you do this with new people, with people that are maybe not aware, because you've done this so beautifully with yourself, and I think that this is a real testament to making sure that the more that we build a relationship with ourselves, the more that we'll build a relationship with our highest selves. Again, it doesn't matter what the name is. And then as a result, we'll see that relationship in everybody around us, which is actually then the veil becomes super thin, as we said at the beginning, where we start to identify and learn that, hey, we're bringing maybe this masculine, feminine presence into balance. Maybe we're bringing, heaven and earth together. Maybe we're bringing whatever the names don't matter, but the veil is clear, or it maybe completely separates, where now you're able to listen to all things around you, all beings around you, as that opportunity of a reflection from what's inside of you. So if you're comfortable to take how you do this with children, or how you do this with people, how do you apply this process for individuals so that they can really feel back into a world that they have intuitively believed in, but told for such a long period of time that they have been not supposed to feel that, or they were supposed to cut themselves off from that emotion, or that when they were kids, that, hey, this was all possible, this is all real, and then at some point in time they said, hey, you have to become realistic, which I hate that word, but to me it's how do we actually reverse that paradigm, and how do you reverse that paradigm, and how do you regenerate and act and maybe I can call it academia, or a future version of schooling, or for the current children, or for the current youth, that is, I believe, instrumental in helping them identify that it's these emotional intelligence, it's this perspective of being able to eloquently communicate it, it's being able to really tap into that amplification of our heart set versus our mindset that we've been told for so long. And so again, just going back to how do you, maybe the how of how, what do you curate for others in that process?
So it's a great question. And, it's a question that has many answers, right? It could be answered in so many different ways. And I think for me, I want to just highlight, or at least make sure I share that I'm still learning. I'm still learning. And I've been very blessed to work with kids, even since high school, working with kids who were these gifted kids. And it was very beautiful to witness how they always cross my paths. These individuals, people like you, who are, these kids who are now adults, and the kids themselves, they always are.
I'm still a kid. I like to consider myself.
I'm with you. I am with you. I literally on my drive here, same thing. I had this whole exciting idea of like, I want to get a motorcycle out of the blue because I want to just go fast. It was like, I'm like, I am such a child sometimes. So I get it. I get it. But you know, I'm taking a pause because I want to make sure that I answer this in a way that, so when working with individuals, I'm very, I surrender. Like, this is not something I read an outline or anything. I just surrender and I let myself be led, and I let myself be led based on a person's individual's need. This year is the first year that I'm actually doing group work in this way, and they're moving energy. And this is why this is part of the answer. The first step that I take is helping people to just feel seen. You know, a lot of times, actually on a deeper level, that's all what we all crave, to be seen, right? We all crave to be seen and just allowed to be ourselves. And that's usually my first step with whether it's the kids, whether it's the adults, whether whoever it is that I'm talking to. First, I let myself be seen as authentic and as real as I am and can be, and in my own authenticity of sharing my own experiences and where I've been and what I've been through, wherever the conversation leads. I think it gives people permission to know that it's safe, right? That it's safe for them to express whatever it is they've seen or experienced before. One of the things that I hear often is that, oh my gosh, you're the first person I can talk to about this. You know, and then all of a sudden they start talking about these experiences that they've had since children. You know, I have people who've seen Jesus since they were a child, and they were, you know, Jesus would guide them and talk to them, Mother Mary, angels, loved ones, you know, beings, and that they would see other visions and other planets, and that they've literally would see other lives. They remember like all sorts of stuff, right? So it's like, it's as if I first hold space for them to just be seen. Right? Be seen through every experience they've had, or every experience that they feel steps outside of what feels normal to most people. And I would say that my first step in the how, and then they moved energy as I was talking. So interesting enough, what I'm audibly being encouraged to share is that when we create the space for someone to feel seen, and we let ourselves be seen by them, we create they're audibly wanting me to say a harmonic resonance that allows for things to move as they need to move, right? Whatever weight needs to move, whatever doubts, whatever fears need to be moved, for them to move enough for us to move into sharing even more. And what happens from there with the how, as people start sharing and pretty much start letting go of the idea that something's wrong with them, because I hear this a lot, even with the kids. You know, what's wrong with me? I hear parents who are being vulnerable and they're sharing and they're saying, why can't my child be normal? And I get emotional from that. Because I hear that a lot. You know, because parents feel overwhelmed, and it's not that they're not good parents, but they're scared for their kids. You know, how is my kid gonna go to school? How is my kid gonna make it in life talking about the stuff that they're seeing and the stuff that they're experiencing, or that their sensitivities, right? That they're so sensitive that it feels like too much. So I have parents who say that, and then same thing, kids, like, I just wish I was normal. So by creating that space for them to understand that what they feel, what they're seeing, and what they felt and have seen before is normal, it allows for fears to move, doubts to move for their hearts to open even more. And then from there, what I work on is helping them to understand that it's a gift, right? That their gift is needed, their gift is essential, their gift is part of who we've been, or what we've been inviting. You know, one of the things I hear often, and I've heard this since young, is that these kids, our gifts, our abilities to be able to see life through a different lens. It's been part of answered prayers. You know, our ancestors have been praying for the opportunity to experience whatever we call God, source, universe, you know, in a deeper and a more connected way. And we're answered prayers. We're coming to be able to share that we are truly that connected and able to experience that union. So I move into that conversation and helping people experience that. Because inevitably what happens is that when people get to embrace that, it unlocks a key. And I see it over and over and over, that when I'm able to get someone to own their gift, like just own and see it through a lens of confidence, it's as if magic unfolds in all angles and at all levels. And what I mean by that is that they start hearing stuff, they start having, it's again, because their gifts wake up uninhibited, right? Unafraid. And, that's what's my favorite thing. Usually happens within 1 or 2 weeks. Sometimes it takes longer with some clients, but it's amazing, right? When I get on the calls with people and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm having this, or I'm having that. Here recently, I just did it. It was only a 30-minute session. And he messaged that he had so much energy running through his body. And he's one of the kids. He's an adult, but he was sensitive since childhood. And he's like, I had so much energy and like had all these, experiences. And it's when we're able to hold a space where we give someone permission to own that what they've been anointed with, they want me to say anointed with, is part of an answered prayer, that it's part of something that collectively we've been all waiting for. And if someone can embrace it, even if it's with a 30-minute talk, and even this as we're talking, when people can own that, really own it and lean into it, it's as if they open up a new world of possibilities, right? Because it's as if life says, thank you. Thank you for waking up to who you are. And then things that have been waiting to orchestrate themselves even more in our journey so that we can get more in that path show up. More people show up to help with that. More of that intuitive gift shows up to help us to know what to do next, right? How to move forward. And we also become, and I like to call, we become earth angels to other people in our gift, as much as other people become even more earth angels to us in our journey as well.
Beautiful mirror. Beautiful mirror. It's like, to me, this is, I hear, beautiful words, and it's amazing to hear the connection that's coming through you, at such a deep level. The curious part, I remember when I was a child, I would rebel. I would rebel like hard. And so I would push myself into the ego, my ego, my masculine, my energy of fight would walk into all of these things that I didn't agree with as a child. And I didn't care. I would rebel from society's expectations. I would rebel from what, different belief systems like we're trying to create. And I remember like putting myself in darkness completely because I needed to understand, from my own experience, through doing drugs and really becoming an addict, and like stepping into that and disappearing for a while, not caring about my life, my experience, had no fear, like there was no fear of death. And so it was this no fear of death, of like turning into a drug addict and living that lifestyle and disappearing and thinking, hey, if I die, I die. That really brought me back, because it was my father. It was a question, and I shared this before once, but the question of my father and his magic was like, can you do this for your future self? It's like something, it was like something woke me up, and it took me away from a moment and helped me identify. And I felt my grandfather from there, and like the experience of our eternal teacher coming through. And I know that these sensitivities that you're speaking of and were so important in my paradigm of really stepping into my role, my responsibility in this reality, and taking initiative to know that I actually am not a victim of anything around me. I'm really a creator of them. And so I think that it's very important that we give not just these teachings, like you said, to the children, but to the children inside of all of us. And because if we take the time to really as adults, be more reflective of that responsibility, of that inner child, of that inner experience. I believe that this will, as a result, will be able to pass that down to our children rather than allowing the schools or the systems or things that really are looking at a lens from one perspective rather than multiple. And if we take the time to look from multiple maps of the world, we could become that awakened soul, that level 8 consciousness that really is able to illuminate the path for our future generations. So I really resonate with this, and I think that my own journey, from is like never grow up, like really just be this powerful child, this transformational artist as an infant. When we were kids, I always say, like, when you look at like these infants, the world revolves around them, right? Because they have that much power. And so if you stay in that energy and you just know how to direct and focus that energy, the world will continue to revolve around you because you'll be in such of a centered knowing of who you are and really project the goodness from your heart. And I believe as children, if we stay as an infant and we're able to like really be these children's, we can lead our futures, our future generations, our children and our children's children into something that really creates that harmonious, like we're talking here, into an era that creates that harmonious belief system around most people, and that will, the next 2,000 years will be better than the last 2,000 years, right? And there's always going to be challenges because contrast is important, right? But those are opportunities, right? Those are opportunities.
It's perfect that you end it with the word contrast, because, as you're talking, I'm hearing them talk as well. So I'm listening to you and listening to them. And it's interesting, right? Because I've had conversations with them. Like, I sit and have conversations in my prayer, I'm driving, sometimes when I'm in the shower, I'm like talking. And, I've had this question to them. It's like, is it really possible to have a reality in a world in which everything is in harmony, right? And, one of the answers, it's not like a yes or a no, but the answer is like the contrast is part of the gift. Life itself is an evolution. Life itself is an evolutionary process. And, we get here, we get to experience all these emotions and all the contrast so that we can do more with this reality, so that we can enjoy more with this reality. And again, just highlighting that contrast as part of the gift, and somewhere around your sharing there audibly we're talking about how, whether you call it life, soul, higher intelligence, God, universe, I'm going to just reference it as the idea of the it, right? That it is helping us. It's helping us move in a direction. Sometimes the direction is forward, sometimes it feels like we're going backwards, sometimes it's left, and sometimes it's right. But in the end, we get to look back and understand the full picture, right? We get to really understand the full picture. And the thing that I get reminded by them often, whether it's for myself or when I'm working with people, especially when challenge or contrast shows up, it's the idea that we get to experience certain things so that the right thoughts, the right emotions, the right inspiration, the right decisions of action get triggered so that flow can occur, right? There's a requirement for certain thoughts, there's a requirement for certain emotions and certain decisions for us to make, for us to move in the direction that we're destined to. And when things happen in our lives, whether we call it good or bad, is as often as possible, even when we lay in bed, right? It's like remembering that the day offered its beauty and its contrast, you know, to get us into the place mentally, emotionally, and even just energetically and spiritually required to move us into the next phase of the evolution that life is about. And I'm not sure why they wanted me to go there, but that's the thoughts that were coming up as you were sharing your beautiful share, and even just you and your journey with addiction, and how it, even just that beautiful phrase that your dad said, right? Do it for your future self. I think that's, when you said it, by the way, I got a lot of energy and chills from that. That's a wise father to share that invitation. And I've shared with you many times, Eric. I know you're one of the kids. I know you're an adult, but I you know, you're one of, and I just got dizzy. You're one of those who experience life through a thinner veil. So it's always great to get a chance to connect with you and talk.
I always feel like the veil is I always feel there is no veil. You know, the illusion of the veil has been lifted off of what I feel to be, you know, the separation. And so I think that is, in my experience, I don't see the separation. I can see, I can feel, I can identify with energy, and I also can resonate and walk into an environment and change that environment. You know, I can create a level of influence, and I know that now about myself by, you know, spending the last 4 or 5 years traveling around different places around the globe, and knowing that, you know, my energy is repelling and powerful enough to attract and create boundaries without just me being, or without with just me being. I create boundaries and I welcome. So it's interesting how that actually happens in unison. The people that will approach me by just me being, and the people that will just repel from me by just me being. And this, I think, is where the veil doesn't, like, it becomes super clear for me, because the veil is actually just me being me, and there is no veil. You know what I mean? Does this make sense?
Yes, I see what you're saying. Yes. You know, one of the thoughts that keeps coming up. Oh, when I remember how I shared with you, so back in 2020, for those who are hearing me for the first time, I was woken up by a group of beings, and they audibly said, you know, this is what you've been getting prepared for. Like, time has come to do what you've been getting ready for. And that's, again, helping. They called it the children, but the children were not just children, they were the adults too, who were, again, these young us, and who have the ability to see no veil. Let's say it like that, right? Veil or no veil. And they gave me several in my learning and my training. I call it training because I feel like they've been training me since young on certain ideas and experiences. I audibly heard something funny. I heard, or I've been training myself, right? My higher self, I just audibly heard that, or I've been training myself. And I heard a giggle, or I've been training myself. So they've been training me, or I've been training myself. But with that being said, I was shown different rays of color, and they called it the reels of consciousness. And the reason this is coming up, because I know we talked about this, and I was shown the ray connected for you with the truth seer. I don't know if you remember, we talked about this. And
tell me about
that
the
idea.
truth seer. Yeah.
So truth seer, and actually I'm going to pull it up here. So the truth seer are the kids or the adults or these individuals who have the gift, who can easily perceive the truth within others, within situations, within systems, within they're saying dichotomies. I'm audibly hearing dichotomies, but they're just showing me, it's like you have the ability to, and it's not like logical, you just feel it and you know. But the thing with a truth seer is that you don't just acknowledge it, you're like, what do I do about it? All right, how do I resist it? How do I become they're saying game changers, right? They feel this, like, I'm here to be a game changer. I'm here to, like, change the game or change the whole thing, that it's just not in that, you know, not in that integrity of truth. So, and we talked about that. You have, and I mean, you of course have other rays and other colors inside of you, but it's a powerful one inside of you. And when you were talking, and even you were saying when you were younger and you were rebelling, I was like, oh, that's right. In the moment I forgot, I forgot. And they were reminding me that you've got that ray, you've got that color, which makes sense. And I celebrate it because from what I can see, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners are witnessing or have witnessed in your work, you speak against that which isn't truth, right? And you want the truth to be seen, known, and experienced. So I just have to celebrate that you reflect that in a beautiful way, because it is part of what I think you do very authentically. So that kept coming up. I was like, I have to share that.
That means a lot to me, because I really feel that it needs to be, the truth needs to be in the light. I don't try to do anything in the shadows, and I will not have. I don't need to hide anything. I have nothing to hide. Everything is open. Everything is expressed. Everything is in the light, because I know that that's as a result of me sharing my limitations, my weaknesses, that as a result of that, it will cultivate a strength within me, and also the people that maybe, or if I'm open to learning in an open way, that I oftentimes can be wrong, and I have been over countless of my experiences of life. And so, not just in this lifetime, but in many of the other lifetimes that I've been here, I've learned to be open and okay with being wrong in the open, and then openly learning about the truth of myself, so that others can also learn the truth about themselves as well in an open capacity. And so I think that there's a lot of courage that more people can step into as a result of doing that, and it requires a level of knowing that from a deep sense, that what you're here to do, because this is not just about me as an individual. This is about the spirit. This is about a spirit of us all. And so I'm happy to put myself out there, because I will challenge things that will not make sense for our children, or for our parents, or for our families, or for our societies, because I could see the bullshit, and because I've been around in these different experiences, and I've looked at different maps of the world, and I really believe in family, and I believe in community, and I believe in doing things together. And if we can't really have thoughtful disagreement and radical transparency, then we're not allowing each other to hold each other to the highest standard. And if we're not holding each other to the highest standard, then we are doing a disservice to our spirit, each other's spirit.
Yes. I love all of the above. So good. And it's really neat, because I think that's, by the way, all that was beautiful. So thank you for sharing. It's really exciting to consider, right, the possibilities of what can happen with life for us individually, but also collectively, when we step into just trusting what we've been given, and trusting what stirs within, and trusting. They're audibly wanting me to say the passage, right? And it's like, oh, I love how they're giving this. They're saying passage. And I've talked a lot about this in events, actually. The idea that we all, and I'm sure we've heard it from other people, because thank you, they're telling me not to, they're telling me to stay on the path, stay on what they're telling me. So the passage, we all have a passage, and it does symbolize a passage, like a way, like we all have a way. But what they're audibly saying, they're referring to the concept and the idea that we all have a passage, like a verse to a big story. Like we each have a passage to a great song. We each have a passage to a great poem. We each carry a passage to the greater story, right? And it's like that idea that if we can stay true to our passage, right, our song, our verse, that which is within us, that is destined to be articulated through our behaviors, through our conversations, through our delivery. If we can stay true to that as best as we can, because they're not meant to be perfect, but as best as we can, we know that we are contributing to a greater story. And when we all get a chance to read that story, to view the story, to witness the story, we will all understand how it makes sense. Absolutely. Right? How I had to bring my passage, and I had to bring my verse, my song, as much as why it was that you needed to bring your passage.
100%.
So
because they all align and they all come together, right? And this if we really believe in the interconnectedness of it, we're willing to listen to each other, we're willing to share with each other. And like you said earlier, it's about holding a space of safety and knowing that people can be seen, because they all deserve it. Everybody does, everybody deserves to bring their bliss, their expression, their uniqueness to the world. Nobody here is better than anyone else. We're all in this together, and we're here to cultivate that awareness of this unified, or unity consciousness, right? And if we do that, then we'll really live like we live in a playground, the greatest playground, and the playground is called planet Earth. And we can start, cultivating that level of awareness in a place of being. And it gives more fun to all of us as children of our eternal teacher, of our eternal creator. And this becomes, the place the heaven that we've all been told is in some other place, or in some other world, or in some other perspective, but it's actually right here, right now, together, like it's amazing. And then if you realize that you get to play.
Yes. So good.
So I really would love to know how people can come and learn how to tap into this playfulness, this child within themselves, this curiosity within themselves, with you, so they can, really bring this essence back. Because I believe that, we can revive ourselves, but this essence needs to be like held onto. And I think that you really are a piece of like integrating that essence, making sure that essence, I always share, is like we can go from revival to essence to then exposure. But once we expose ourselves, we can expose ourselves in multiple different sides of community, of common unity, in unity consciousness. And that will correlate into every different map of the world, because we'll work with different levels of consciousness. And then as a result, we get to expand on the prosperity, the wealth. And I call this the roadmap to resilience, or how our golden thread binds us together, our heart. But this essence, I think that what I feel, is like your integration of helping people expose this or define this essence is really important, of how can they learn to know about you, learn about you, where you're at. How can they, I know you're doing tons of great like online events. Tell me more, please.
So thank you, Eric. So one of the ways you could always connect with me on social media as the Angel Coach. There's a lot of things that we deliver, or I say we, because collectively, right, the different beings of love that share. We share support through the social media, so people are always welcome to connect with me there. I also do offer sessions and reading and intuitive guidance is delivered, and you can connect more to that by visiting my website, or again, my social media links there too, which is theangelcoach.com. And one of the things that I started and is actually going to be further launched this year is I am doing Awaken Superhuman Coaching. And it actually was something that was asked of me to do. And it's really helping people to wake up the superhuman that is within them. And during that coaching is really like relearning your superpowers, and not just remembering the use of them and how they unfold through you, but how to apply them in a way that you can really experience the malleability of life and enjoy creation even more. So that's something I'm doing, which everyone can connect to further. And then lastly, the one thing that I am grateful and I get wonderful feedback is that once a month we do share a call at the Awakened Superhuman call, and we share guidance, we share exercise, and the different things that we deliver based on what is happening collectively, but also based on those that join. And that happens every month, every third Tuesday of the month. And you could register for that again by using my social media and the little area where it has all the information about you. Click on there and you can register and join us for free on those live calls. And we also have a platform through those live calls, and you can enjoy all the replays and meditations and everything that they've taught me that I can share through that platform, and people get access to that through the blueprint.
Amazing. I'm so excited that more people, let's make sure. Yes, please.
Yeah, they're telling me, don't forget. So thank you. So this year, for those who love live events, I am going to be doing live events this year. I'm bringing them back, which is one of my favorite things, because people have experiences. And that's one thing that I love to give people the opportunity to have this experience, tangible experience. Thank you. They're saying tangible experience with what they call energy and source. So I'm starting those again this year. So it'll be retreats. I'm also doing a youth event, which I'm currently working on organizing, and I'm so excited about that because it'll be serving, we're aiming to have from ages 17 to 27. Of course, all ages can come, but mainly to really cater to that age group for them to step into their gifts and really experience it in such a way that they can take it in practical ways into their life and see what else is possible once they really allow that to express itself to the fullest. So I'm excited. So those are a few of the things which I'm grateful that they just reminded me.
I love it. And I'm super excited. And please know if there's anything that, we can do to support you. We're here to help in big ways. So last question I have for you. If you had 3 days left to live, what would you do?
Honestly, I feel I'm very blessed. I'm very blessed. And I have so many people that I truly love and appreciate. And if I had 3 days, I would commit to spending time with each of those people, whether it's in group or individually, to make sure they knew the impact they had in my life, but how in so many ways in spirit, I will be walking by their side, helping them, but also I would just really savor the gift of relationship and the gift of love as experience with others. So that would be what I would do.
Amazing. So beautiful to connect with you, feel your energy, and I'm excited for everything that you're up to. And please let me know if there's anything that I can do. Do you have any last statements or things you want to share?
The last thing that comes up, and I'm audibly hearing it, is that we're doing it together. We are in this together. So whatever it is you're going through, whatever it is, high or low, just know that if you're celebrating, we're celebrating with you as a collective family. And if you're going through challenges, you're not doing it on your own. We're in this together.
Hey everyone, and thank you so much for listening to The Resilient Minds. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please make sure to go comment and like and follow us on iTunes or Spotify, and please make sure that if you really love this, to share this episode, and make sure that you're inviting all your friends to like it as we continue to unfold what the beauty of our minds does. More importantly, how powerful our heart level of intelligence can be when we combine our heart and our brain together. And more importantly, check out the alignment course that I've created. It's seriously there for you to take advantage of at www.ericbalance.com/alignment. See you on the next show.